Caitlin Clark's success is undeniable, but if you ask Cathy Engelbert, she should be thanking the WNBA instead. That tone alone triggered the latest uproar in what's become a full-blown leadership disaster inside the league. In a behind-the-scenes moment that's now been widely reported, Engelbert allegedly downplayed Clark's value to the league, implying that her superstardom was a byproduct of WNBA exposure, not the other way around.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
This, despite Clark's multi-million-dollar nil empire and massive following long before she ever touched a professional court. It's a staggering misread, and it's put Engelbert's leadership under a microscope like never before. The tension exploded publicly after Nafi Sakhir ripped into the league's leadership, calling it the worst in professional sports. It was a brutal statement from a star player, and one Engelbert failed to meet with any real authority. Her vague, non-committal response only added fuel to the fire, making it clear that criticism from players wasn't going to be taken seriously. Then came a knockout punch from Scott Van Pelt, who didn't raise his voice but still tore apart the league's leadership on ESPN, spelling out what so many already suspected. The WNBA's most powerful people seem blind to the very stars making them relevant. The fact that Clark has elevated the league's ratings, sold out arenas, and attracted new sponsors makes Engelbert's dismissiveness almost surreal. It's not just a miscalculation. It's a PR failure of historic proportions. Players like Elena Del Don, who is quietly exiting the league with almost no fanfare, highlight another ongoing issue: the complete lack of recognition for legends who have built the WNBA's foundation. Sophie Cunningham added to the growing list of player frustrations, citing a disconnect between what athletes need and what the league provides. There's no cohesion, no engagement, and worst of all, no accountability. Leadership doesn't just look weak right now. It looks absent. There's no sign of support from inside the league for Engelbert. Nobody is speaking up for her. And when that silence is louder than the criticism, you've got a real problem. The upcoming CBA negotiations are hanging in the balance, and so is the league's reputation. Van Pelt made it clear that the WNBA could be in for a rude awakening if it doesn't get serious about who actually drives the business. The players, not the front office. If Engelbert truly believes Clark should be grateful, she's already lost the plot. The optics of downplaying your biggest star while ignoring your retiring icons is a self-inflicted credibility crisis. Now, all eyes are on the NBA's Adam Silver, because if change isn't coming from inside the WNBA, the pressure may have to come from above. And if that happens, it won't just be Engelbert's job on the line. It could be the league's entire future. The WNBA is on the brink of its most visible era ever, and somehow, the leadership is fumbling it in real time. At the center of the storm, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, a figure who was once seen as the stabilizer for a growing league, is now being called out by players, scorched by analysts, and left without a single public defender inside her own organization. It started with Nafi Sakhir. The star forward didn't sugarcoat it. She called the WNBA leadership the worst in professional sports. That's not a hot take. That's a declaration of absolute frustration. Her comments sparked a firestorm, and instead of quelling the flames with clarity or accountability, Engelbert responded with the weakest possible play: tepid indifference. A non-response that said everything by saying nothing. In any other league, that would already be a scandal. But in the WNBA's current climate, that silence was gasoline on a fire that's been building for months. Keir's call-out opened the door, and right behind it came ESPN's Scott Van Pelt, who took the story national. His analysis wasn't loud or emotional. It didn't have to be. It was calm, cutting, and absolutely devastating. Van Pelt broke down exactly what the league's leadership seemed too stubborn to admit. The WNBA is experiencing a surge thanks to players like Caitlin Clark. The numbers are up, the arenas are full, and the media is paying attention, for once for real. But instead of embracing that moment and steering it, Engelbert appears completely out of sync with the source of the momentum. The biggest issue? Her alleged comments about Clark. Sources say Engelbert dismissed Clark's value behind closed doors, implying that Clark should be grateful to be in the league, as if the WNBA created her relevance. That sentiment didn't just miss the mark, it reversed the reality. Because Clark didn't need the WNBA to be a superstar. She brought superstardom with her. Her NL empire, built before her first professional tip-off, dwarfed what many pros in the league had seen in years. She came in with sold-out arenas, a devoted following, and mainstream buzz, something the league has chased for decades. So to downplay that, to suggest she's lucky to be there, that's more than just tone-deaf. It's insulting. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of who holds power now. Clark is not just another promising rookie. She's the engine of this current WNBA wave. She boosted viewership. She sold jerseys. She brought in new sponsors. She changed the conversation. And instead of being recognized as a catalyst, she's being told she should be grateful. What's even more disturbing is that there's been no pushback from league insiders defending Engelbert. No GMs stepping forward. No coaches giving her credit. Not even anonymous sources offering a spin. That silence is a message. She's alone in this. And she's alone because this isn't just about Clark. Veteran players like Elena Del Don and Sophie Cunningham have also spoken out. Their frustration has nothing to do with rookie stardom and everything to do with systemic neglect. Del Don, a two-time MVP and face of a league for a decade, announced her retirement with barely a whisper from the W. No tribute, no campaign, just silence. If a player like her walks away and gets no recognition, what does that say about the league's respect for its own legacy? And then there's officiating, an issue that has gone unaddressed while players openly question the consistency and safety of how games are being managed. These aren't minor complaints. These are direct reflections of leadership in action. So when you stack all of that, the Clark snub, the disrespect toward legends, the weak officiating policies, and the flat-out avoidance of accountability, you get the real picture, a leadership crisis that goes way beyond public perception. The entire infrastructure of trust is breaking, and the timing couldn't be worse. The WNBA is approaching critical negotiations around its CBA. Expansion plans are on the table. Media rights deals are in flux. The valuation of the league is finally in a position to grow, and now the leadership at the center is facing revolt. Van Pelt's analysis was a warning shot, not just for Engelbert, but for the entire league. He laid out the stakes. The players are the stars. They're the economic engine. Clark proved that. Keir reinforced it. And Del Don's quiet exit is a haunting reminder of what happens when you ignore the people who built the league in the first place. The absence of support for Engelbert from within the league is not subtle. It's a full-on rejection, and it doesn't look like she's trying to win them back. That's why so many are wondering if NBA Commissioner Adam Silver is watching closely and when he might step in. After all, the NBA supports the WNBA financially and has a long-term investment in its success. If Engelbert's leadership continues to create turbulence, Silver has every reason and right to intervene. He's done it before. He's not afraid to make changes at the top when public trust is eroding and the product is at risk. Because make no mistake, the WNBA product is at risk. Not because of the talent. The players are thriving. The games are better. The energy is real. But without leadership that can meet the moment, all of that growth can vanish. This is a league that should be celebrating its biggest year. And yet the headlines are about whether its commissioner is about to get sidelined by her own silence. And at the center of it all, Caitlin Clark, who's being told to be grateful when she's literally carrying the visibility of the league on her shoulders. The irony is hard to ignore. For years, the WNBA begged for a breakout star who could bring in new audiences. Now, they have her, but instead of empowering her, they're treating her like a disruption. That mindset doesn't just block progress, it drives players away. The league is already facing deep criticism. The finals are near. The CBA talks are coming. This is supposed to be the height of celebration. Instead, it feels like a warning siren. If Cathy Engelbert doesn't step up or step aside, the risk isn't just lost growth. It's total erosion of trust from the people who matter most. The players, the fans, and the partners who are watching every move. The WNBA could be in its prime. Instead, it's stuck in a battle for basic recognition. And that's the real crisis. Let us know what you think. Should Cathy Engelbert resign? Can the WNBA recover from this storm? Or has the damage already been done? And where does Caitlin Clark go from here? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. We're breaking down every power struggle, PR fail, and sports drama you won't believe is real. This isn't over. Not even close. The situation with Cathy Engelbert isn't just about leadership anymore. It's about legitimacy. When your own players, commentators, and retired stars are calling you out, and no one in your inner circle is willing to speak up in your defense, it stops being a controversy and becomes a reckoning. Right now, the WNBA isn't wrestling with growing pains. It's battling an identity crisis. And that identity is being shaped not by press conferences or league initiatives, but by the absence of accountability at the top. Engelbert is the face of a league that finally has momentum, finally has mainstream buzz, and finally has stars that can shift culture. And yet, she's operating like the league is still fighting for scraps. But here's the twist. It's not. Not anymore. This isn't 2012, when visibility was a maybe. This is 2025. And in 2025, the WNBA has real leverage. Record-breaking ratings. New fans tuning in every week. Sponsorship dollars increasing. Media segments, highlight reels, national debates. Caitlin Clark has brought more attention to the league than any single figure in WNBA history. And still, the commissioner is treating her like she's just another player who should be lucky to be here. If that's the worldview at the top of the organization, then it's no wonder the entire league feels stuck in the past. Let's call it what it is. The league's leadership feels threatened by what Clark represents. Not because she's young or white or popular, but because she's powerful. And that power didn't come from the league's infrastructure. It came from outside of it. That's what this tension is really about. Caitlin Clark didn't ask permission to become the face of the WNBA. She showed up with a fan base, a media narrative, a market shift already in motion. She didn't need to be built. She was the brand. She is the brand. And to someone who's used to controlling the spotlight, that kind of organic stardom is disruptive. But instead of embracing the shift, Engelbert allegedly chose to diminish it. Instead of empowering the player who helped explode national interest, she downplayed her impact. She rewrote the story. And in doing so, she missed the most important play of all. Respect your stars or risk losing them. And this goes beyond Clark. Because when Nafi Sakir spoke out, she didn't say Caitlin Clark is being mistreated. She said the leadership is the worst in professional sports. That's all of it. That's the culture. That's the broken system that players are no longer willing to protect. Keir's comment wasn't about jealousy or media headlines. It was about a pattern. A leadership style that's top-down, opaque, and out of touch. A style that prioritizes image over integrity. A style that responds to player concerns with corporate jargon instead of meaningful dialogue. And the worst part? Nobody is surprised. The cracks have been showing for a while. The officiating fiascos. The dismissals of legitimate player complaints. The failure to engage with issues of equity, travel, safety, and legacy. And that legacy part? That's where things really sting. Because Elena Del Don didn't just retire, she faded away. One of the league's most decorated stars left without a tribute, without a farewell, without even a proper send-off. How do you let that happen? How do you claim to value your players while erasing their exits like they didn't matter? If the league won't celebrate its past, what incentive is there for players to invest in its future? That's what today's stars are asking. And the lack of answers from Engelbert has turned a simmering frustration into a boiling point. This isn't just about PR anymore. It's about trust. And in sports, especially women's sports, trust is currency. Trust is what keeps fans loyal during slow seasons. Trust is what keeps veterans from walking away quietly. Trust is what keeps sponsors invested when the headlines get messy. Trust is what makes players feel safe enough to speak and stay. Right now, the WNBA is bankrupt on trust, and leadership hasn't just failed to rebuild it. They've ignored the debt altogether. That's why people are looking at Adam Silver. Because when a commissioner is this widely criticized and this publicly unsupported, someone has to intervene. And if the league's own board won't do it, then the NBA might have no choice. The NBA has put real money into the WNBA. They've offered resources, visibility, shared arenas, promotion, and media push. And with that comes a level of responsibility. Because if the WNBA's brand becomes synonymous with mismanagement, that reflects on the NBA's business, too. Silver isn't in the habit of micromanaging, but he is in the habit of cleaning up messes before they explode. And right now, Engelbert's leadership is the mess everyone's pretending not to see. What makes it worse is that it's not even about some huge scandal or ethics violation. It's about basic leadership, listening, communicating, being present when it counts. And none of that is happening right now. The WNBA finals are around the corner. The CBA is coming up. The league should be thriving right now. Players should be excited, fans should be hyped, and sponsors should be doubling down. Instead, the conversation is about whether the commissioner has lost the locker room and whether she ever had it to begin with. This kind of disconnect doesn't fix itself. It festers. And when it reaches this point, when the players are unified in their dissatisfaction and the media is openly questioning leadership, it usually ends one way: change at the top. The fact that nobody has stepped up to vouch for Engelbert is the clearest signal. Not one high-ranking voice in the league has said, "This is unfair." Not one respected player has said, "She's misunderstood." The silence is louder than any quote. And Caitlin Clark? She hasn't said much publicly. She doesn't have to. Her performance speaks for itself. The fact that she's showing up, playing hard, and still drawing crowds while being subtly undermined behind the scenes says more about her professionalism than anything the league has done to support her. But how long can that last? Because when you treat your biggest star like a problem instead of a blessing, you create a new problem. Every other star starts taking notes. They start asking themselves if it's worth it, if this league is built to support them, if leadership is actually in their corner. And once that doubt creeps in, it's hard to erase. So where does the WNBA go from here? If Engelbert stays, the league has to brace for more backlash, more callouts, more public tension, because the players are not backing down. They've tasted what it looks like when the spotlight is finally on them. They're not letting that moment pass without demanding better. But if she steps down, or if she's removed, there's at least a shot at starting fresh. A shot at real dialogue. A shot at building a league that reflects the power and brilliance of the women who built it. No more silence. No more deflection. Just actual leadership. Because right now, the players are leading the charge. They're holding the league together. And unless the front office wakes up and follows their lead, all this growth could slip away. Caitlin Clark, Nafi Sakir, Elena Del Don, they're not just athletes. They're change agents. The question is, will the league change with them? So here we are, at the edge of a league-wide identity collapse, with the commissioner under fire, the players in open rebellion, and the biggest star the WNBA has ever seen allegedly being told to be grateful like she's some intern fetching water at practice. It's not just frustrating. It's surreal. Because no one is buying the idea that Caitlin Clark should be thankful for anything other than her own ability to turn every gym she walks into a media circus. Her success didn't come from the WNBA. The WNBA, right now, is surviving off of her. And that's not just dramatic commentary. It's fact. Look at the numbers. Look at the viewership. Look at the headlines. The only thing keeping the WNBA in daily sports rotation is the interest surrounding Clark's debut season. She's not some side character. They've centered the marketing, the broadcast, the conversation around her. And yet, behind closed doors, the message being sent from leadership is that she should stay quiet, play ball, and be thankful the league let her in. It's a PR nightmare with no cleanup crew. The absence of any official support for Engelbert makes it worse. You'd expect at least one coach or exec to come out and defend her, to spin the story, offer context, maybe rally the troops. But nothing. Total silence. And silence in this kind of crisis? That's not loyalty. That's survival instinct. Because deep down, everyone can see what's happening. The trust is gone. The leadership is broken. The league is moving forward, and Cathy Engelbert isn't moving with it. Even casual fans are starting to feel the shift. The way players are speaking out more boldly, more frequently, more publicly, it's unprecedented. And the fact that no one from the WNBA's upper ranks is stepping in to mediate or reassure, it tells you everything you need to know. There's a void, and the players are done waiting for someone else to fill it. What's next? There's no easy fix. The damage has already spread. If Engelbert stays on, she'll be leading a league that no longer respects her. And let's be honest, how do you lead without respect? How do you sit across from Nafi Sakir in a boardroom or shake hands with Caitlin Clark at a sponsorship event when the entire public already knows there's no trust? The finals are right around the corner. A time that should be about legacy, highlight reels, and playoff intensity is now being overshadowed by conversations about whether the commissioner will survive the month. That's not just bad timing. That's a leadership collapse in motion. And again, the stakes are enormous. The upcoming CBA negotiations aren't just about money. They're about power, structure, long-term investment. The players now have visibility and leverage, and they're not going to sit across from someone they view as dismissive or disconnected and pretend everything's fine. If Engelbert stays in the room, the deal could fall apart. That's the risk the league is taking by dragging this out. Every day without resolution is another day of bad optics, low morale, and rising pressure. And eventually, something has to give. So what will it be? A graceful resignation? A statement from Adam Silver? A sudden push from the league's governors? Or will Engelbert hold the line, hoping the news cycle changes and the backlash fades? It won't. Not this time. Because this isn't just about Caitlin Clark. This isn't just about one bad comment or one missed retirement tribute or one poorly officiated game. This is about years of leadership that has failed to evolve with the moment. Years of treating players like employees instead of partners. Years of thinking growth means control instead of collaboration. The players have changed. The audience has changed. The media has changed. The only thing that hasn't? The commissioner. And if that doesn't change soon, the WNBA will lose more than headlines. It'll lose trust. It'll lose momentum. And it might just lose the players who made this league worth watching in the first place. So here's the bottom line. The league can grow. The league can expand. The league can dominate. But not with leadership stuck in the past. And not while its biggest stars are being told to be quiet and grateful. Drop your take in the comments. Should Cathy Engelbert finally step down? Is Adam Silver the only one who can pull this league back from the edge? And what would it take for the WNBA to rebuild the trust it just lost? Make sure you're subscribed because this story is still unraveling. And if the WNBA thinks the heat is cooling off, they're in for a rude awakening. The players have the mic now, and they're not handing it back.